Hello there, this is Joey Vera from Fate's Warning, and you are listening to Rock at Night.
Are you ready? Hey, tonight I'm gonna take you on a little trip. We're going down south by the mighty Mississippi. I'm gonna take you to a place where lights never dim. Bring your mother, your brother, and your best friend. I'm gonna show you where they dance out in the street. They'll tell you all about your body heat. Not gonna talk about it, just gonna do it. Get on down if you feel up good. Get on down.
Hello, everyone. Welcome one more time to the Rock at Night podcast series. This time around, I will be talking to one of the integral members of a band that I love. Progressive metal has been an evolving subtype of metal since the 80s, and Face Warning is widely revered as the true creators of the genre. On the musical scene for more than 3 decades now, the band has built a massive international following, as well as releasing 12 full-length records over that period. Their latest record, Theories of Flight, has taken the progressive metal scene by storm, garnering rave reviews from critics and fans alike. We recently published a review I wrote about the record, and I've got to say, for me, it's the best album they have put out in the last 25 years. Today, I have the pleasure to speak to Face Warning's bass player, Mr. Joey Vera. Joey, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
It's my absolute pleasure, Joey. First and foremost, I wanted to thank you on behalf of all the Rock and Night listeners for taking the time to talk to me today. If my math is correct, you've been with Faith for around 20 years, right?
Pretty close, yeah. I haven't done the math. I think it's around 18 or 19. Yeah, it's around there.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's been quite a journey. Also considering you've been busy also keeping the flame alive for your other well-known band, Armored Saints, and many other side projects. So my first questions for you is, if given the chance to go back in time to the moment that you were asked to join Faith, would you do it again?
Absolutely. My experience in Fates has been extremely rewarding. Not only just as a player and a musician, but also all the friendships I've made over the years with these guys and all the things we've been through. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Those words speak highly about the experience that you have had with Faith. As per my understanding, you guys live in different areas. So how the recording process of a Face Warning album takes place? Or better said, how did it go this time?
Well, it's a little unusual, maybe in the traditional sense, but with technology these days, we are able to do it this way. We basically live in different parts of the world now, so it's not so easy for us or practical for us to get together into the same room and make records the way that we used to be done back in when you're first starting out. So we do things bi-coastally, and we do everything over the internet. We all of us have very high quality home studios that we've built over the years, so it affords us to be able to basically record our own parts separately. So the way it usually works is Jim writes all the music. He's the mastermind. He's the guy who has the vision and writes all the music and the parts. And he makes pretty elaborate demos for us to hear so that we can hear the big picture to begin with. And he hands us off the songs, and we basically learn them as we get them. During that process, he allows us freedom to interpret certain parts in our own way. Some things are obvious that are written in a specific way, and it's pretty apparent to each of us, where the freedom can fly and where it needs to stay intact. So that's pretty much how we go about doing things. And with the internet, and email and the servers these days, it's so fast that we can literally perform a part, and within 10 minutes have you send it send it back to each other and get feedback. So it's actually pretty efficient way to work now. It's just a little different than it used to be, that's all.
Then we have to be thankful for technology because that's given us the fans the opportunity to enjoy such a tremendous amount of music coming from you guys, so many solid records over the course of the last 10 years, maybe, that is simply astonishing.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about Theories of Flight. I can't help myself but sensing that that album probably contained the heaviest song the band have ever come up with. So going up with the overall heaviness in this particular recording was something you guys decided to do, or simply the songs came to form like that as part of a songwriting process?
Well, I really don't think that Jim premeditates things too much when he's writing. I really think that it all comes from an initial inspiration, and then once he follows that inspiration, it takes him down a path. So I think that I don't know. He would be better answered, how, why, he wrote this music. Although I think he will tell you that it wasn't something that was premeditated too much. I think that it's something started with a few songs or a few ideas, and it sort of um, shaped the rest of it. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what it is either. I mean, people are kind of flipping out about the new record, and I think, at least speaking for me, I think we just kind of do our own thing, and we treat each record as a time and place thing. Kind of each record represents where we are at that particular spot. I think this one's probably no exception to that. I don't know why it's connecting differently than the last couple of records. In my opinion, the record has some kind of energy that's a little bit different than the last couple of records. The melodies are a little more, I don't know, there's more of them. It's more melodic and it's more high energy. In general, the record is, I don't know, again, why that is. I just think that, again, it's time and a place.
Joey, let me tell you my personal opinion about this. Past records like Disconnected and FWS showed different sides of the bands, keeping a trademark core sound but veering into experimentation and different landscapes. Do you think like that?
Yeah.
Okay. However, Theories of Flight builds up from the same sound the band approached with Darkness in a different light, while adding so much momentum, melodic finesse, and melancholy. Not to downplay any of its predecessors, but I feel this album is a different beast. Do you feel this might be a defining album in Faith's history?
I don't know about that. I mean, I think that again, this life it's taking on is something I think is beyond all of us. We're not really. I certainly could probably safely say, even for Jim, that it's not something that we have set out to do. It's just for some reason it's connecting in a way with people that it's hard to explain why it is. I mean, I will agree that the only thing I would agree on is that I think during Disconnected and Fates Warning X, there was a period of time where we were experimenting with production value. We were experimenting with some of the stuff is a little more moody, slower, kind of darker. And I think that was, again, a time and a place thing. It's where Jim's head was at writing wise in those days. I think that maybe he's since then, I don't know, maybe perhaps wanted to get out of the dark and moody stuff and get back more to where some of the high energy material maybe was coming from, maybe perhaps from his earlier part of the career, like Guardian era or No Exit era. I don't really know for sure, but perhaps he's taking some influence from where he comes from and from the music that he grew up listening to and so forth. So I just think again that this record again is just something that represents where the band is at in 2016.
I really appreciate your modest opinion, but I believe this. There hasn't been a musician that has gone into a studio premeditating to create a masterpiece. It's just a result of what they do throughout the creation process. So maybe this time around is exactly what you guys did, even though you didn't make it like that.
Maybe. I mean, a lot of a lot of people still have a really high reverence for A Pleasant Shade of Grey as being a super big pinnacle point in the band's career. And that was my first record with the band, so I hold that super dear to me. Um, Although, again, it was my first record, so I was still finding my way in the band as a player and as, you know, me coming up with parts and my contributions and so forth. Um, so I feel like that was a new area for me. At this point, I'm much more comfortable where I'm at with the band, and this is my second record playing with Bobby, and I love him as a drummer and as a player and a person, and our relationship as a rhythm section is something that's also changing and growing. So I don't know. I mean, time will tell, I guess. And again, I think that I really think that it's sometimes really up to the listeners and the fans to make those sort of discerning comments about what they hold in the highest regard and what they hold in the least regard. It's for us as players, we have a different opinion on everything because we're so close to it, and it means something a little bit different to us. But I think that we're all glad that we're getting this response. It's quite frankly, I think, at least speaking for myself, I'm pretty blown away that everybody's so happy with it, and we're really glad about it. There's another element that's different about this record is it was mixed by someone different that we haven't used it ever before, and I think that has a hand in it also. The way that it sounds sonically is attributed to the mixing of Jen's. So that's another element in the whole thing. But we're super stoked that the whole thing's gonna come out. We can't wait to get out there and start playing live.
Well, from my fans' perspective, A Pleasant Shade of Grey is one of my desert island albums. I would take that record with me to the end of the world.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I don't quite remember myself being so pumped and happy because of a face warning record as I have been while listening to Theories of Flight. And once again, this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to make you feel like comfortable because we're having this conversation. I'm being completely honest with you.
That's great. I mean, again, that's awesome to hear. We'd be lying if we told you it wasn't good to hear that.
So going back to my question, because we deviate a little bit.
Great.
Face Warning has been in the musical scene for more than 30 years. And I'm sure you guys have had many difficulties throughout the time, as the music industry nowadays is nowhere near as it was in the 80s. What do you think drives bands like Face to keep moving forward despite the shortcomings?
Well, probably the fact that we have a very loyal fan base. I mean, if we didn't have any kind of a demand for the music that we write or perform, we wouldn't be able to do anything. So the very fact that we have a loyal following, it affords us opportunities like to go out on tour, especially in Europe and this, in the States as well. But I mean, without that, we wouldn't be able to do anything. So we would probably have a much harder time staying alive and keeping our, keeping our morale up. If it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't have anything. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that keeps us going.
There was a period of around 10 years, I mean, not exactly 10 years, but close, during which the band did not produce any record, and many fans thought that the band was done. However, you guys did a tremendous comeback with Darkness in a Different Light. What happened during all that time?
Yeah, again, during those 9 years, we didn't put any records out, but we did a lot of touring during that time. So you know, during that time, we went through a couple of drummers, and we found Bobby halfway through that period, and then that core band, the core band that we are now, we did a lot of touring. We went to a lot of places we've never played. We did, Eastern Europe, which we've never been before, just all kinds of places, and so I think that was really good for the band, actually, to be away for a bit and maybe you know see what the fans were like in other parts of the world we hadn't been to before. Also, keep the band working as a unit, and being around each other. We're like family, so we were able to get close and just keep that part of it intact. So when it came time, it was like, okay, let's make a record. Like we need to have a reason to make music, and I think being together and doing all that touring was a big part of that.
Bobby has been with the band for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So, if I ask you, do you think that this lineup that you guys have with him is as solid as the band has ever been? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we have a great unit now, and this has been the unit for several years now, and it's been great. We all get along great. We have a lot of fun touring together. We all get along. We're all on the same page about everything, and once we get out there and we get once we get our what do you say, like our muscles flexed, or once we get some of the bugs worked out in our set, we're really, I mean, not to, I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but when we get really tight, we're a super tight band, and it's fun to play. The songs are great songs to play live, and it's a lot of fun and challenging to play this kind of music and have it and make it good. It's really cool. We all really like it.
I flew to Chicago last year to catch you guys on tour at the Regis, and it was a wonderful show.
Yeah.
So moving forward, what can fans expect from the upcoming tour?
Well, at the moment we don't have any dates booked yet, but I do anticipate something happening. It's a little bit late for us to get on the European festivals, so I don't expect anything like that until next summer. But between now and then, I'm sure that we'll have some touring coming up and so forth. Right now we're making some plans to shoot a video for the new record, and first things first, we'll see what happens. But we do have plans to get out there and do some more dates.
Now, expanding a little bit upon your career, I mean, Face Warning is a full-blown progressive metal band, while Armored Saint is a more straightforward heavy metal act. Which one of the two camps you feel like a more natural environment for you, and how do you manage to separate your duties between the above-mentioned bands and end up sounding different in each case?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Armored Saint camp is, a group of guys I grew up with. I've known most of these guys since grade school, so we have a really deep history. It's literally like brothers. Sometimes it's as you know, maybe it's hard to do business with family. So that brings, that is the difference with Fates and Armored Saint is that Armored Saint is, I do a lot of the managerial position stuff. I make a lot of decisions business wise. I'm the chief songwriter. I have a lot more pressure and responsibility there. So sometimes it gets a little more stressful. Um, with Fates Warning, I don't have that involvement. Fates Warning is Jim's baby. Um, Although he respects my opinion and asks for my opinion, I'm not ultimately making those sorts of decisions on that end. So for me, it's a little easier to be in Fates Warning. Um, and so it's easier for me to kind of let my hair down, even though I don't have any hair left. But I'm able to feel, a little bit more comfortable there and sort of enjoy that whole experience. With Armored Saint, I have a lot more responsibility, and it's just a different animal, musician wise and playing wise, you know, um, at the core of myself, I'm just a hard rock bass player. I grew up listening to 70s rock and R&B and funk, and so I have very blues-based player, and that's really at the core of where I'm at as a musician. But since I've got involved with Fates Warning, I was able to explore some of the other music I was listening to growing up, such as Yes and Jethro Tull and Genesis and jazz fusion, a lot of jazz fusion growing up. I don't have a chance to play that stuff in Armored Saint, so with Fates Warning, it really has been an eye-opener and a challenging me to learn and study more theory and that sort of stuff. So I get a lot more, I get a lot more kind of, what do you say, musical flexibility playing in Fates Warning. It's been great for me. It's made me a better musician, a better songwriter, a better player. It's improved my theory, and just my playing is just, it's just better than it was before I joined Fates Warning. So, I have to put on different hats, when sometimes I'm forced to think about things, especially with odd time signatures. It's not something I do all that much with Armored Saint. So with Fates Warning, it requires a different part of my brain. And they're both equally satisfying. I get asked that a lot, like, they're so different. Which one do you prefer? I don't really prefer one or the other. I mean, they're both so gratifying in their own ways. In some ways, it's easier for me to be in a band with Fates Warning, because of what I explained earlier. But at the same time, I get a lot out of being an Armored Saint, because it's gratifying for me to be so involved in every aspect, and to see things come to fruition is gratifying in a different way than it is sort of being in Fates Warning, where my role in Fates Warning is predominantly, I'm a role player. My role is to be the bass player and to be a strong point person with the rhythm section. So they're both gratifying, and I find them both challenging in different ways. So yeah, that's really it.
I have this passion for photography, and even though I haven't been fortunate enough to attend a concert of Armored Saint, I've been to a couple of fates, and I can tell that you guys on stage, you come out and you give everything. And when I look at you with all the funny faces that you make and all your movements on stage, I can tell that along with the rest of the band, you guys are having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's something that I sort of, it's something that sort of dawned on me kind of later in my life, because when I look back on some of my earlier performances when I was young, I was way more static than I am now, and I think that it's maybe just a growing thing. I think when I was younger, maybe I was a little more intimidated by being on stage, or intimidated, or feeling apprehensive about really just expressing yourself in a public venue, you know. Um, but it was a little bit, you know. I think over time I just sort of realized um, that the whole reason I'm a musician is because I really enjoy it, you know. So I think it's just taken me a little bit longer to kind of come out of my shell. And at this point where I'm at now, I think I've been out of my shell for quite some time now. But yeah, I mean, I at this point I'm like, you know, I don't really, I never really cared that much about what people thought about me, but I really don't care what people think anymore. And for me, it's all about having a good time, and I enjoy what I'm doing on stage. For me, that 1 hour on stage is pretty much the only reason I'm a musician. It's a place where I can feel completely untouched, and I'm completely liberated. It's really the thing that fuels my soul. And if I couldn't have that, I don't think I would be able to do any of this anymore.
So how does Joey Vera musical future look like now? I mean, besides upcoming tours with Face and Armor Sane opening for Queen's Rise in the next couple of months, is Joey Vera involved in any other musical project at this time? Is there any future plans for Mother Sister, for example?
Yeah, we've been trying to actually get together. We've been hanging out, you know, on the side as people. We see each other and hang out and stuff, and we've been threatening to get together. There's actually quite a bit of riffs and music floating around between Jim Wilson and the rest of us. Unfortunately, we're also damn busy with all our other projects, so we haven't had time to do anything about it. So that's still, that's still on the table. You know, the Anthrax record just came out. You know, I'm still doing dates with Armored Saint. The Fates Warning record's about to come out, so I'm going to get busy there. Um, I also played on Pearl a Days. She has a solo record that I played on. I think that record is just about done now. And so Motor Sister is something that we do when we can put time into it and have fun doing it. So we really don't want to make it a burden. So we have, that's why we, you know, that's why it's kind of taken a little more time than we want, because again, we've got to wait for the opportunity to open up. But we definitely are working on another record.
Well, it seems to me that you are the kind of person that enjoys to be busy, right?
Yes.
Joey, at this point in your career, how do you view your own musical legacy? Does it fill you with what could be called a sense of pride?
Well, sure. I'm very proud of all the stuff I've done. I I think the thing I'm most proud about is that I've done so many different things. Um, when I look back at all the experiences I've had, and the recordings I've done, and the tours I've done, and all the different musicians I've played with and had come in contact with, I mean, it's far beyond anything I ever imagined I would do when I was younger. You know, when you're young, you just sort of think, oh, I'm joining a band and I'll be in this band for the rest of my life, and that'll be it. But it's been a pleasant surprise for me that I've sort of um, fallen into all these opportunities, playing with so many different people, and I've learned so much from everybody, and they've each made me a better player and a better person. And yeah, I feel I mean, I certainly feel proud, but I also feel like super lucky. You know, I think I don't know what I did to deserve this, but I feel very, very lucky that I've had this opportunity to be in contact with so many great people.
And obviously, you are very grateful because of that.
Absolutely.
And we finally came to my last question, which is musically speaking, what is still out there for you? What is still something that Joey Vera would love to do with any of the band that he's involved with that he hasn't been able to do?
um, you know, I still I still enjoy traveling a lot. So there's a lot of places I haven't played yet that I still want to play. There's you know, Armored Saint is about to do our first show in Tokyo, Japan in October. I've been there with Anthrax. I played several shows there with Anthrax in 2005, but um, to be there with Armored Saint is something I've always wanted to do. Fates Warning has never played there either, so I would love to play Japan with Fates Warning. Also, South America is another place that I have yet to play with either of those bands. I was there with Anthrax, and um, I need to have Armored Saint and Fates Warning both need to go to South America, and you know, Southeast Asia would be great. You know, would love to go to some other exotic places. There's a bunch of places up in Scandinavia I've never been to. So there's a lot to be traveled to still.
That's amazing. I'm pretty sure that you will make it there sooner than later. Well, Joy, thank you once again for taking the time to do this interview. It has been a terrific honor to ask these questions. And I can only hope you guys include South Florida as one of the tour stops this upcoming tour so I don't have to travel that far this year.
I hope so too. That would be another place to go.
Thank you very much, Joy. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, man. I'll talk to you soon.